It just has like a little thing. Like that, right? There's no countdown when this shit goes live. Hey, everybody, episode 23, This Life in Tech. I'm Jason.
Hey, and I'm Dan.
I was just telling Dan while I was waiting on this thing, you click the button and there's no countdown, no appreciable countdown like when it's going to go live. Like usually you get like a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 type of deal when you're broadcasting, yeah? All you get with Hangouts, man, is like this little box up in the top corner, like right above my finger on my screen. And it says going live, and then all of a sudden it's live. Like, and it doesn't seem to be the same length because I've tried to count in my head. But anyway, man. Wow, what a weekend, dude. Tour de France is going on. I've been watching that shit.
The tour to what?
The Tour de France.
I don't pay attention to anything that happens in that country.
They haven't even been in France yet, fucker.
I have been to France.
No, they haven't. They haven't been in France yet. It's not yet.
It doesn't matter. It's got the name.
Well, here's what drives me crazy real quick. And we don't have to talk about this because I know you're not into cycling. But what drives me crazy, man, is I have to watch the goddamn broadcast in Dutch because there's no English broadcast.
Well, it's a good thing you speak Dutch.
Yeah, right? I mean, I understand enough of it to understand what's going on. I'm not
right.
But it's close enough to German that I can make sense of what's going on.
I will say that cycling is much more entertaining than NASCAR.
Oh yeah. Well, listen, man. One of the favorites yesterday. It's getting heated because now they're in the mountains, right? And so these roads are really narrow, and there's lots of dudes. And listen, even going up a mountain, they're going at a pretty good clip.
Yeah.
The fans get like right on him, man. And this dude yesterday was running beside one of the guys in a chicken suit, and he got too close, and the dude just fucking elbowed him.
Nice,
dude. Fans get clipped all the time. I saw a dude this morning was coming down a pass, right, and they take those narrow right angles, and he was taking an inside line, and a fan stepped out to take a picture of other people riding in front, and he just clipped him, shoulder checked him, and knocked him out.
Dude, it's dangerous. I don't blame them for doing that. I mean, you tumble on a bike, you're not fully geared. You've got a helmet, but you've got a lot of skin exposed. And at 20 miles an hour, asphalt will take skin off.
Oh, Jesus, dude. You know, I ride, and the other day, man, I was riding home, and I just left a red light coming home from the ocean, and my tire blew, and I just fell over. I mean, I didn't crash. I just kind of fell over because my wheel couldn't do anything.
Right.
And just falling over, it's not that it hurts. It saps your strength, man, from that impact because you're clipped in. So you can't you can't do anything. You just fall.
There's no way you can unclip in time. You're basically done. You're going to take it all on the shoulder.
Yeah. I mean, if you fall slow enough, I've been able to get out before, but usually in a situation like that, because my wheel just blew and fished. Right? Anyway, man. So I watch it. It's interesting. But the other big sporting event that I know we both like is UFC. UFC had 200 last night.
Yeah, I was watching it. I was debating whether or not I was going to watch it or not. I guess we'll start off. I enjoy watching John Jones, and when it was found that both of his both samples were tainted with something. They haven't said what. The USADA will not comment until the other person comments, and then they will. So they could only talk about that there was going to be a B sample test because John Jones said that they were going to be doing a B sample test, as Camp did. But yeah, and I hope, because of how outspoken he's been on PEDs, that he wasn't taking anything knowingly. I think it's getting awfully. There's many people that keep doing it. I don't know. Maybe Nate Diaz is right. They're all on steroids.
Well, two things have changed MMA in general, but it's particularly the UFC since it's the most prominent. It ran next to maybe Bellator. And Bellator doesn't follow the same guidelines, by the way. Okay, not
even close.
No. So UFC brought in, I think his name's Jeff Novitzky, which, in case anybody doesn't know, that's the dude that handled Lance Armstrong, and by handled I mean caught and prosecuted. He was actually a federal agent. I don't remember what agency he worked for, but
probably not the FBI.
No, I don't think so. I don't remember how he got involved, but it was actually through the financials of it. Because remember, Lance Armstrong rode for U.S. Postal. There's still an ongoing lawsuit. But anyway, so this is the connection to cycling. So the UFC brought in Novitzky to run their program and kind of be the ambassador and the liaison to USADA. And USADA actually will test anybody's supplements at any time. You can send shit to them and they'll test it and tell you if there's something in it. We know this for a fact. We know that, like you said, John Jones tested positive for 2 substances in his A sample. And then they elected, I think the next day or that same day, to have the B sample tested. And that came back like the next day.
Right.
For positive for the same 2 substances. Now remember, so they don't test for recreational drugs or certain things out of competition. So this isn't a case again where, remember when he got popped for cocaine out of competition? That was actually a fight.
Right.
They shouldn't. Not only should
they should not have announced that, because cocaine is by USADA is permitted when you're out of competition, which is kind of interesting.
It's not a banned substance out of competition. Neither is marijuana or anything. Anyway, so not only should they have not been screening for it, but they certainly shouldn't have announced it. But nonetheless, I don't know, man. You know, the supplement industry is fairly dirty. What happens is a lot of this shit gets manufactured. In case anybody's curious, I'll give you a brief rundown. A lot of it's manufactured overseas. And it's just like electronics or anything else, right? There's factories that manufacture lots of different things within the confines of those factories and the machines themselves. So, you know, you can do a production run on a performance enhancing drug and then turn around the next day or whatever and do a run of vitamins. Well, if you don't properly clean the equipment, right, that's how the shit gets tainted. That's one way. The other way is some supplements, like one of the supplements that at least is a sponsor of the gym, right, has a banned substance in it, DHEA. That's what I heard, or I read, I should say. And that's a performance enhancer. Lots of supplements actually have steroids in them, and people don't know. They're just at very low volume.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because recently we know 2 UFC fighters did have tainted supplements, and they were giving a short ban,
6 months or something like that, right?
Right, which is that's nothing for a UFC fighter, because you're probably only fighting twice a year anyway, for the most part, because of injuries and things like that. But also, I can't remember which. I think it was either football or baseball. Same thing, but their ban was completely lifted because they weren't intentionally doing it, or so they say. I mean, if I had enough money and I wanted to do it, I would wait. I might even pay the people in the manufacturing over there to not clean it, so I get that in my supplement.
Yeah, well, actually,
and if I'm caught,
there's a history of really high athletes going overseas and spending time, like in China, they have a pretty advanced doping program, and they actually have, because they've never had the restrictions on like stem cell therapy and shit like that. They can actually do some fascinating stuff with adjusting your skeletal growth. Anyway, man, that goes off another scientific thing, but I don't know. Here's the thing, man. You can't prove intent. It's impossible in these cases to prove intent. I mean,
sure,
right? That's to me a straw man argument. What's important, I think, is what did you test positive for?
Right, and we don't know that yet.
Right, and the fact of the matter is we may not know, because you're right. That's, as I understand it, governed by HIPAA, regulated by HIPAA. That's the right way to say it. And USADA, because it's medical information, can't release it without authorization.
John Jones is going to have to announce, or someone's going to have to leak it, right? Yeah. And that leads to the next part in terms of, I've always been a fan of Anderson Silva, and I think if that was a 5-round fight, he beats Daniel Cormier.
I don't know, man. I don't know that
when he was able to get that one kick. That was very close to a liver. Oh yeah, Cormier buckled.
Yeah, because it hit him in the liver. You saw it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he did. Yeah, I don't know, man. Daniel Cormier's a super high level wrestler, and he dominates people by getting him, holding him down, and pounding him. I mean, it's a classic. Brock Lesnar does the exact same thing. Fucking wrestler, and I don't mean WWE. I mean, he was a high level amateur wrestler.
Yep.
And he's so much bigger. I mean, Anderson Silva weighed in just like off the street.
Like 195, something like that, right? It was like 195, I think.
198.
It was close to there.
Underweight, right?
Yeah.
And he hadn't cut weight. Daniel Cormier cut weight, weighed in at the prescribed 205, and then who knows how much he gained. By the way, that's the other thing that changed too, is these weigh-ins, because the ban on IVs. For years and years, dudes, and women, were using IVs to rehydrate because of the way they cut weight. And first of all, IVs are banned now. You can't use an
Right.
IV. Even out of competition, you can't use an IV.
No, which is what got BJ Penn popped.
That's what I was just going to say. BJ Penn. And what's interesting about that is they didn't catch him. He admitted it because I guess he didn't realize that it was banned. I don't know. But
yeah, that's what he said. It was which is why he's got a short thing, because he wasn't caught. He said, I need to inform you, basically, this is what's going on. I did not realize this was not following the rules. So, because it was out of competition.
Yeah. There might be an exemption if you have a doctor's prescription. I don't know how that works with the IVs out of competition, but in competition, yeah, you can't. They're banned. And they changed the weigh-in procedure.
Yep. So they're doing it the morning before rather than the night before. Right.
Which is why Johnny Hendricks missed weight. That fuck. Dude, listen. That's like, I don't even know what to compare it to in like our professional life, but it's literally not doing your job. Part of your job is making that weight.
Well, it is. I mean, that's exactly what it is. You're a fighter. You're a professional fighter. You know what the weight is. You know coming into it, this is what you have to be.
Yeah.
All right. And,
well, and don't forget that dude texted, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago, that he was at Whataburger eating cheeseburgers, and he thought he was gonna not gain weight just because he missed the fries.
Yeah. Don't get it. So yeah, and getting back to the Anderson Silva, I mean, this guy just had his gallbladder out. He had not been training at all, and he didn't take any damage. He was down on the ground. He did quite well. I've always been, and Anderson Silva's not young. I mean, he's 41. So in terms of fighting, he's pretty out there, and he still looked pretty good. You could tell that he was slow, slower than he normally is, probably because of all of the additional weight and him not having to cut. But at the same time, I've always said I've never felt Miesha Tate was very good. I think she got lucky, and she got destroyed last night.
Yeah.
And so for all those Ronda Rousey haters, she's the only person that has been able to successfully defend her title. And there's many people that believe until you have defended the title, you're not a true champion. So,
I think that's especially in a sport like MMA.
Yeah.
I think it's different than other sports, especially that have a series that you have to successfully complete to be the champion. I mean, you won more than once, which in a way is defending, right? But I mean, you have the whole concept of a puncher's chance or a submission chance, right? Which is what happened with Miesha Tate. She just happened to fall into the right place, and she's skilled. I mean, she was skilled enough to recognize that opportunity and seize it with that choke on Holly Holm, but she got crushed.
Oh my gosh, it was.
I felt bad.
I think I didn't feel bad. That's what you signed up for, and she got her nose broke pretty badly. She looks. Wow.
So just to be clear, I don't feel bad because she's a woman. I feel bad because it was so fucking lopsided.
I don't feel bad at all, and it has nothing to do with her being a woman. She signed up for it. She was not prepared at all for that stand-up game.
She had a really bad weight cut too, man. She barely made weight on time.
Right, she made it at the last minute.
Yeah.
Right, and so I'll certainly be interested now because Ronda's coming back before the end of the year, and why should Holly get a title defense? Why should Miesha get another one, or whoever else?
Do you think
Ronda's the only person to successfully defend? So Dana announced yesterday she'll be back before the end of the year. So my guess is she'll fight in December.
I'll believe it when I see it.
I think she does.
Well, because let's not forget her boyfriend got his ass kicked last night too.
Which one was her boyfriend? Is that
Travis?
Travis? Oh yeah, he got destroyed.
Yeah.
That looked ugly also.
Yeah.
Cain Velasquez just destroyed him.
Out of nowhere threw that spinning back kick.
Oh my god. He threw two of them connected with one.
A heavyweight.
Yeah.
Well, and by the way, heavyweight, let's not forget Anderson Silva until last night was undefeated at light heavy. He's had multiple fights.
Oh yeah. He's done. I mean, he's beaten some good people. Forrest Griffin when he was doing that. I mean, he's beaten some solid people.
I just think he's over the hill, man. With the bad leg break, popping for steroids. The gallbladder surgery, the beatings he started to take a little bit. I think he's no Randy Couture. You know, Randy Couture was successful into his 40s because he had momentum.
Yeah.
And I just think Anderson lost his momentum with the problems he's had.
I didn't think he was going to do as well as what he did.
I agree. I agree. Well, because I mean that's the blueprint to beat Anderson Silva. Look what Chael Sonnen did in their first fight. A good wrestler grabs him, holds him down, and smashes him.
Yep. And the thing is, you know, Mark Hunt is a good fighter, right? He was able to stuff a lot of Brock Lesnar's attempts. That's not easy. I mean, like, there's a big difference between Brock Lesnar, Randy Couture, and Daniel Cormier, right? Brock Lesnar turned down going to the Olympics. He won his NCAA wrestling championship. Daniel Cormier didn't, and Daniel Cormier finished 5th in the Olympics. Now, Randy Couture, a little bit, you know, was better. I would say it's better than DC, but Brock Lesnar is a freak of nature.
That dude is so big. That dude is so big. It's ridiculous, man.
And he has to cut weight to make the heavyweight cut. That guy, he typically walks around at 300 pounds. And 300 pounds of muscle.
Look, you know, him and Hunt are similar in size in terms of weight. Hunt has to cut also.
Yeah.
Brock's much taller and he's much more muscular. But the difference in speed and just raw athleticism, not that Mark Hunt's not athletic, he is, right? I mean, he won multiple kickboxing championships.
Yeah.
But man, there's just a difference in raw strength and power. I saw Brock Lesnar beat Randy Couture for that belt, and I was in Vegas to watch that fight, and I was far away, and the dude still looked monstrous. I couldn't believe it.
He's huge. I mean, it is just you're talking about being able to maximize your athleticism, performance, and, you know, today's technology. Brock Lesnar has done all of that and has succeeded. He just looked monstrous last night. And I don't think I won't say his striking game is good, but I think he did a good job defending the strikes. And that's equally as important.
And I think clearly he's gotten over the bad habit of looking away when you get punched. I mean, that's a real bad habit, and he had it. I mean, that was one of his biggest problems in his first run. He didn't like getting hit in the face. And it seems like he's a good bit over that. I mean, clearly he's been training. I mean, the guy hasn't been not training for his layoff, but come on, man, to be away from a sport for 5 years, I think it's been, to come back in and beat, I mean, inarguably a top 10, maybe arguably a top 5 heavyweight. I wouldn't be surprised if he's champion again if he wants to be. I don't know what deal the UFC struck with Vince McMahon. They had a deal.
I don't know, but, you know, Brock Lesnar, you know, so the interesting fact or stat in this particular case is that no heavyweight in the history of the UFC has defended more than 3 times. Not Randy Couture, not Andrei Arlovsky, not Tim Silva, none of them. Brock Lesnar has a successful defense.
Yeah.
All right. So, you know, who else? I mean, you could. I don't know that there's a lot of good heavyweights that are there.
No, man. No. It's been a problem since I've been watching the UFC. There's a lot of people that come and go, but that is the problem, is they come and go. You know, they have a couple fights and they fall off the map. I don't know if the size in the context of the sport has to do with that, or the beatings they take, because dude, all those guys hit fucking hard. I wouldn't want to get hit by any of them. Not one of them.
No, not at all. It's quite a bit different. I mean, you know, like in boxing, everyone was always looking at, hey, you're the heavyweight champ, Muhammad Ali, you know, going down the whole aspect. In MMA, the exciting fights aren't the heavyweights.
No, not at all.
You know, light heavyweight was probably what made the UFC, because of Randy Couture, Iceman, you know, Forrest Griffin for a while, John Jones. They make it, and then you also had, you know, the GSPs. That's the welterweight, right? Or is that the middleweight?
I always get those two fucked up, man.
Well, whichever one, the GSP one, because you had what's his name, the country boy that held
Matt
it for
Hughes.
so long.
Matt Hughes.
Yeah, Matt Hughes, right? He was another exciting fighter. I mean, he did quite a bit. Those were like the exciting divisions.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the longest time, you had Anderson Silva then came along, but you had the teacher,
Rich
Frank.
Franklin.
Rich Franklin. Yeah, another good one. But I was pleasantly surprised at this UFC. I didn't think it was going to be as good as what it was. But come on, I'm waiting for 202.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be buying 201 at all. There's literally not a fight on there I care about.
Nope.
I want to see Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz go at it.
Yeah.
That is. I do kind of think there is something to Conor McGregor going, look, I didn't have the right strategy for this. I still think he wins. I don't know that. I don't know that Nate Diaz can do it again. I think Conor gassed.
I think there's something to that. I mean, Conor's definitely in Conor's camp is definitely very smart in the game. I don't know how he's followed through on the adjustments, but recognizing what adjustments need to be made, he's definitely done. I mean, he's not a pussy. I mean, you know what I mean? He has certainly more than a puncher's chance. I don't think the size disparity is that big. There is a size disparity, but it's not huge.
If I'm Nate Diaz, I don't even try and stand with Conor McGregor. I get him on the ground and I use my jiu-jitsu against him. No way do I want to stand with Conor McGregor. No way. If I'm Nate Diaz, that's the only way I can win that fight. I'm not going to win it standing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, not unless Conor gasses again, because he is coming in at 170. This time he's training to be at 170. And I suspect he comes in under 170. I suspect they make him go through as if everything he was doing as if he was going to be fighting at the lightweight instead of the welterweight, or whatever the 170 is.
Yeah. Well, because remember, he's the 145 champ. And originally he was going to fight who was the champ who got beat Friday night at 155. And then they ended up fighting at 170. And I like the fact that he chose, look, I got beat at 170. We're going to do it again at 170. There's something, I think there's something honorific about that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I say, I'm still not impressed with Aldo. I don't think he did a very good job.
No. I mean,
he may have won the fight. I don't think he did well.
It's the exact same way he beat the same dude before. I mean,
yep.
No, I think he gets fucking crushed again. It may not be in 13 seconds or whatever, but I think he's going to get crushed again.
Because all Aldo wants to do is counterpunch, back up. But the thing is, Conor McGregor is also a counterpuncher. I think Conor beats Nate Diaz. I like Nate Diaz. I think Nate Diaz is the same way. He proves, both of the Diaz brothers, they prove they will fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. Yeah. They don't pull out of fights.
No, they fight backstage. Fuck it.
Yeah, they don't. They are. They're true athletes. I mean, they train triathlons all the time. So I mean,
they do fairly well. They're big in their age group.
Yeah. So I don't have anything else about the MMA right now. I mean, that's but we both happen to love MMA. I thought the last night was well done.
Yeah. Well, and to finish this up, and because there is a connection to cycling, I think the real answer is to move to what cycling does, which is the blood passport. They keep samples and they'll test them as the testing mechanisms get refined, and you can get retroactively banned.
Sure.
It's going to head that way, man. It has to. And I think honestly, it's good for the sport.
Either that, or just say, "Fuck it, do whatever you want."
Yeah. But nobody's going to do that. Nobody wants to be the. I agree with you, and actually, I think that's what they should do. In all honesty, but I don't think because of the politics involved, anybody wants to be that guy that stands up and says, "Yeah, fuck it, let him dope to the gills."
I'm like, people are always going to be trying to figure out a way to skirt the system. I'm like, screw it. If it's legal, go ahead, do whatever you want. It's your choice, but you better understand. There is no thing from like a union, like with the NFLPA, MLBPA, probably that's what they need for mixed martial arts is a players association. But go, look, you choose to do all that stuff. You choose to take 1,000 milligrams a day of whatever Lyle Alzado was taking back in the day. Expect you're going to die young, and if that's what you want, your family, no one is getting anything because we're not telling you to do it or to not do it.
Right. I think the whole science of it's fascinating, but it's an interesting segue into the last topic I wanted to finish with today, which is how to mediate input, especially from social media. So, I mean, one of the first things I did when I woke up this morning was check social media about UFC 200 and the Tour de France, and it's the same thing happens in both sports, and I think it's universal. Is somebody does well, and because of the ratios involved of how many people there are in the world and how many people are actually vocal on social media, the vast majority of it to an individual like me or you, or anybody else, can seem overwhelmingly negative. I don't know how many threads I read on forums and social media shitting on Brock Lesnar, that it was fixed, that he's juiced. So, why do I want to read that? I don't want to read that. That's not why I'm checking the news. I'm checking the news to see if there's some development, not to have some schadenfreude to celebrate somebody's misfortune, like even John Jones. Actually, I feel really bad for the guy that he habitually fucks up. There's something wrong with his mental focus, man. I mean, and I feel bad for him as a human being. So I don't want to read about somebody else's misery or how fun it is for other people to witness it. So how do you mediate it, man? I've found myself recently starting to curate my list of connections pretty stringently.
I do that. Though I got to be honest, I do enjoy watching everyone shit on all these other people. I find it funny. I do. I'm like, because you can, and part of the reason you can go, clearly this person is biased. You can just see it, or they're just a troll. And so I might pick up a new technique for my trolling. So it's training for me. But it is difficult when, how do you get proper, true, informed opinions on things? And it's not just with the news. It's with technology. I mean, it used to be back in the day, I would say probably at the latest mid-2000s, if Gardner said something about your product, you could pretty much take it to the bank. Same thing with Forrester. Now, to me, it's clearly evident that they're biased and their opinions are based on how much these technology companies are paying.
Yeah.
And I want real informed opinions, not just I don't want to read biased information. I want to, and I don't think this is just social media. This is news in general now. Everything has got a slant. What happened to the honest reporting of news? Here are just the facts.
Well, man, I haven't looked yet because some of this just occurred to me as you were talking, and I'm thinking about what you're saying. I think pieces of this have been studied, but I'd be interested in studying, that there's something to, and I use social media as an example, but you're absolutely correct. And I agree that it's not just Twitter and Facebook. It's media in general. It's news in general. But because of the size of our social circles, and that's in general, right? Not just Twitter and Facebook and Google Plus.
Google what?
Yeah. Even though we're using it right now, but I think there might be something there. I'd be interested in finding out because of the size, right? It seems that speed is more important than accuracy, right? How fast I can get news, let's call it that, and turn around and spew it back into the echo chamber somehow seems to create this positive weighting in a social network. Whereas, if you think back to when we were kids, when none of this existed, you had authoritative news sources. 60 Minutes, man. I mean, I remember sitting down and watching that with my grandparents, and there was something to the weight of the information you were getting. And it wasn't on speed. It was based on where it was coming from. And I don't know how much of that may be loyalty now. There is no loyalty because there's so many choices. What's there to be loyal to? One's just as good as the other. What matters, at least in my observation, is speed. And that's how you get a lot of misinformation.
It happens quite a bit. I mean, whenever we see things on CNN, Fox News, whatever. One, we now know there's a slant, and two, it may not be accurate. And they don't. I would be so much more willing to watch a lot of those if they said, based on what we know right now, this is the information that we have gathered. It leaves them the opportunity to actually correct themselves, because they can still be fast because they want to be before everyone else. But it gives them the opportunity to say, all right, the information has changed, rather than constantly going, this is true, this is true, this is true. And then when new facts come out, they forget that they've already said the other stuff was true. They just go right in to the next piece, and they just ignore the fact that they were wrong.
And there's such, and I think this is a more recent phenomena that's related to size and speed, is there's such a social phenomenon of fear of failure, of being wrong. I remember, and I'm not saying it's better, it's just in contrast, in the non-digital news world, prior to the 2000s, it wasn't uncommon to read a retraction or a correction, in a newspaper or a magazine, or listen to one on the news, right? That, this information was wrong, whatever, right? And that was part of the authoritative source, right? But now there seems to be this view that, well, if you were wrong, then I'm just not going to use you anymore.
Yeah.
It's a commodity. Being right is a commodity.
It's funny because there was a TV show on HBO called like Newsroom, I think is what it was called, which was talking about this thing right here. And their whole aspect of there is that they didn't care if they were first. They wanted it to be right.
Sure.
And no one else was doing that, which is quite interesting in that today people don't care if they're right. They would rather be the first person to say something.
Yeah.
And
there's some social commoditization of information, right?
Yeah, and we'll bring that back to the UFC for a minute. Ariel, how do you pronounce his last? Helwani.
Yeah.
He should have contacted the UFC for a comment, and even if it was a no comment, that's fine, because you could say, just like when we read in a lot of other things, we contacted whatever organization and they didn't respond in time, or they had no comment at this particular time.
You're referencing when he got banned, right?
Yeah, when he got banned. Yeah, not that Dana White handled it correctly, because Dana White constantly lies to the media. But I think the only aspect is Ariel Helwani should have contacted them, and I think that is becoming more of the norm in reporting, is that they're not getting all sides of the situation. It is always slanted.
Exactly. It's not news, it's a narrative.
Yep. And I know neither of us wanted to talk about all the current events that are going on because we don't want to contribute, but I see the same thing there. We only see one side. And I would implore all of our friends out there watching, especially with elections coming up, don't just read what you're used to reading. Look at all sides of it. Make informed opinions. Not just what I say, not what Jason says, not what your friends and family say. Make informed opinions.
Well, and
research all angles.
And I think that's, it goes back to a couple episodes when we talked about scientific literacy and technology as a form of, literacy in technology. And I think that's why those things are so important in modern life. It's so easy to skew issues. I mean, you and I both studied how to skew shit with stats. I mean, that's just one example. And USA Today has been doing that for years in print. That's just been magnified now because of the commoditization and the speed. I think that'd be really interesting to study, man. And I would imagine there's people out there looking at it already. If not, right, somebody hit me up. Let's do it. But especially current politicized topics, whether it's politics or it's gender issues or race issues. I'm not taking a side or even talking about specific things because it's fundamentally ingrained into these discussions now that, and part of why I don't want to talk about it isn't because I'm scared or I'm worried about my career. It's because I don't know what to talk about. I mean, I don't even know what people are talking about, man. Everything is so far off center, and it's not only in its extremism, but in its lack of full presentation of factual information that how do you even have a meaningful conversation about it?
Well, I don't really know, but this is what I do believe. This country today lacks a real leader. I would love to see a Martin Luther King, a JFK, someone come out and actually be a real leader for everyone. We don't have that in this country anymore. We have career politicians that are not leaders; they're career politicians, and I think that is a huge detriment to our society, and that we don't have someone that can build the bridges between the different social circus that exists in this country today.
Yeah,
I really wish we had one.
I would agree, man. I mean, if you look at federal government in and of itself, it's a giant echo chamber. I mean, I don't even know why there's different parties, or there's this proceeding the perception of different parties. And it's not. I'm not saying that they're the same. There's purported differences, and I don't want to talk about that. It's just that it's all the same people forever. It's an echo chamber. I mean, so what's really being debated in those situations? Because they don't have the fucking facts any more than you and I do.
Well, this is what we know about people that are elected officials in Washington, D.C. They are, it doesn't matter if they're Republican, Democrat, whatever they want to call themselves. They are one of two real things. People that everyone knows is on the take from big government, big companies, and those that say that they're not, but really are behind the scenes. And that's really all it is, because it doesn't matter how good we think there might be someone that is, but we take a look at how much money they're making, even just being someone in Congress, and the amount of money that they're pretty much guaranteed to make for the rest of their life after they do a certain amount of terms. Doesn't matter to me. You could be Bernie Sanders, you could be whomever. You're getting money from big organizations, and you're either open about it or you're not open about it, but you're still getting it in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, man. And I'll finish with two quick thoughts. One, to me, still, I feel that technology can be the great equalizer. Technology could unify all this if
absolutely
enough of us stop being scared of it. Whether it's automation, whether it's sentient machines, there's lots of opportunities. But it's the great equalizer, because you wouldn't have to deal with any of this monkey business anymore. The other thing too, man, is I don't know about you, but from time to time I fantasize about running for office.
I have thought about it. I really have. But I don't know. I will say that here is my conundrum or fear. That there's always this aspect of people say that they want to get in so they can change the system, and then they wind up just becoming a part of the system.
Yeah, exactly.
And I am sure that there are probably a number of people who believe that they'd be able to get in and make a change, and they really do believe that they would remain pure. But then winning is addictive.
Yeah.
And sometimes people will compromise their values in order to get everyone's vote. This is what's I am not a fan of Donald Trump, but I will say I wish he was a better person in terms of what's out there. Because he's at least being true to him, to leave this caricature of maybe he's really not like this behind closed doors. I don't know, but his caricature has not changed. And the entire time that he has been in the public, he has always been just like this. I can at least respect that he's not changing because the Republican Party wants him to change.
Right.
Republicans historically are not for abortion, and he says he's out there for abortion. I mean, there's some things out there that he's like, look, just because I'm a Republican doesn't mean I have to do everything the Republican Party says. And I at least respect that. I still, I'm still hoping in some way, shape, or form, both him and Hillary Clinton both lose.
Well,
I'm not looking forward to the next 8 years.
Well, there is an answer that I don't think enough people consider. Instead of arguing about who am I going to vote for in terms of the lesser of two evils, because they're both scumbags. I mean, they're absolute fucking scumbags in different ways, grant you, but they're fucking scumbags. How about we all just agree to not vote? I would love to see what would happen if enough people, because it wouldn't have to be everybody, but if enough people just said, I'm not voting.
Well,
later.
I don't think you have to worry about that because our highest voter turnout rate in the last last however many years has been less than half the country, right? I don't think we've gotten over 60% in a very long time. So you don't have to worry about people not going to vote. It happens automatically.
No, I mean more. Just
more people not voting.
or let's all agree to go. All of us go and just write in no confidence. That's who I'm voting for. No confidence.
Yeah, it would be really nice if people would do that. I mean, I think we're at a point here now that the federal government has too much power. It was not the way the founding fathers intended it. It was all about the states. I mean, yes, you had a national identity, but the states were to govern themselves, and the federal government was here to arbitrate disputes between the states.
Yep.
We have lost sight of that.
National defense.
Yep. We've lost sight of that. Maryland requires different things than California. Hell, California, depending on where you're at in California, requires different things.
Yeah.
Okay. And all of them require different than Alaska to Texas. Every state's a little bit unique. And, the constituents all need something different. We've lost sight that our politicians are not community leaders, they're career politicians. And I believe it is really hurting this country.
We should have never let lawyers in.
I agree. If you have a law degree, then shouldn't be able to be there.
No, you should
especially for this election.
Yeah, you should be immediately disqualified. That's one profession that shouldn't be called upon to perform civil service.
No, I agree. I would say the only exception to that I would make is if you had 20 years as a public defender.
Okay. Yeah, that's a fair point.
That would be my exception. If you were a in the public defender's office for 20 years, I would make the exception.
That's agreeable.
Because
we're making government.
Yeah. Because I think they are for the people who weren't able to afford proper representation.
Yeah.
And if anyone's going to help, try out for the little person out there, I think it would be them.
Well, but one could argue that at that point they're just trying to get somewhere where they can make their nut after being paid shit for 20 years.
I would still have more trust in that individual than I would for someone that has been, in the political world for that long. Yeah, especially if anyone comes out and says they were a constitutional lawyer. At that particular moment, you're just automatically disqualified.
Yeah. Go preside over Puerto Rico, the 51st state.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the thing that's irritating about this is that there was a reason why we're supposed to have a justice system, an executive system, and a legislation. We didn't want legislators trying to figure out that they were supposed to be, lawyers, because then they're gaming the system. That's why we've got so many laws on the books that just mean absolutely nothing. Anyway, I know we're about pretty close to time. I will say I will close out with this, that hopefully at our next podcast, I'll have a pretty big announcement that I'll be able to share with our audience. I think things are coming up, and Jason and I will both be at DEF CON. So if you have something interesting to say, please hit us up. We'd love to have you on an impromptu session. We'll be out at DEF CON, again. I think I've only I can't remember. I think I've only missed like 5 or 6 total DEF CONs out there. So this will be, it'll be fun being out there. And again, this time we get to come out there, kind of represent ourselves. We're not coming out as press. So if you want to be out there, if you want to be on, we'll have to arrange something, because we're not going there as press. We're going there to be a part of the community, and anything that we do will be outside of that, because we're not there to be press.
Yeah, no,
that's my final thoughts. Ninja.
I'm really looking forward to just going and being a regular human. I've only missed a few, 2 or 3 over for a long time, but the last like 5 in a row I've worked, and I'm looking forward to just going and talking to people and not having to be places at certain times, right? And yeah, man. For me, I'm just looking at my input, man. I'm like on this big kick now of curating my input list and really looking at what's positive, what's interesting, constructive instead of what's destructive and negative. I'm just tired of all the bullshit, man. It's too heavy for me. Even these big shoulders. Ugh, it's just too much.
I almost agreed with everything you said. Yeah. Anyway, that's all we got, right? Was this episode 23 in the bag? Is it 23 or 24?
This is 23, man. 23. I think.
All right.
25 at DEF CON.
Actually, regardless, I think we should just make 25 be at DEF CON.
Yeah. Yeah, we can.
So if we have to wind up skipping a week,
5s and shit.
Yeah, if we wind up having to skip an episode, it'll just be because we want 25 to be at DEF CON.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, man. We can have a little party. Sweet.
Awesome.
All right, man.
All right, everyone.
Episode 23 in the can. Hey, like, subscribe, make comments. We're here for you guys. Let us know if you want us to talk about something. Otherwise, have a good week.
Later.